Thank you. My name is Kevin White, and I'm very excited to be here today to talk to you about harnessing AI for a better future. Now, I'd like to start by going back in time. Let's imagine you're at home this morning. You're finishing your breakfast, and you're enjoying your coffee. You're spending time with your children, maybe saying goodbye to a spouse. You're getting ready for your day ahead. But then the earth begins to shake. You run outside. Buildings are destroyed. Roads are damaged. Infrastructure is down. And you need help. This is what happened in Afghanistan, in Western Afghanistan on October 7th. At 11:11 a.m., the first of two magnitude 6 earthquakes hit. Over 40,000 people were affected, including, tragically, 1,400 who lost their lives. And as international organizations mobilized to help, many of these organizations, they were relying on outdated building and infrastructure and population data, and it didn't match what was happening on the ground. And we know that in a time of crisis, every hour counts. Emergency response teams must have good information to help, because knowing where people and knowing where the people are is critical to saving lives. In today's digital age, it might be easy to assume that fundamental data such as where people are is readily accessible. But in the last year alone, in emergencies like in Turkey and Syria, the earthquake in Morocco, the flooding in Libya, and this earthquake in Afghanistan, they all share this common challenge, that the population maps and infrastructure data is just not up to date. And in Afghanistan's case, many of the people affected were literally off the map. So in collaboration with our partners at Planet Labs, our Microsoft AI for Good lab was able to use AI models to quickly identify buildings in areas that were surrounding the earthquake zone. And even more important, our AI models were able to detect which buildings were likely damaged from the earthquake. Now, the image displayed here shows our results. The center is the earthquake radiating out, and each dot represents a building, with the red dots indicating damaged buildings. Now, this data was provided to humanitarian organizations on the ground, assisting in emergency response operations. And this is one example of how AI can help us with a better future. Now, as a world, we're facing big problems and big challenges. Just a couple of stats. 5 million children still die before the age of 5 worldwide. 333 million people were affected by food insecurity alone last year. And 1.3 billion people, 1 out of every 6 of us, is affected with a disability. And so these problems, many of these problems, are opportunities for AI and technology to help. And NGOs and IGOs, governments, academics, many of the people you've heard from today, we're all working together to solve this problem, but these organizations sometimes are struggling to secure and retain AI talent. So in 2018, we created at Microsoft our AI for Good lab to focus on partnering with nonprofit and international organizations around the world. We're located in 3 places. We're in the US, we're in Kenya, and in neighboring Uruguay. And our mission is to use AI to help address some of these great world challenges. And I'd like to walk you through three of our focus areas, which are examples of how together we can be creative and we can leverage AI to help solve pressing challenges. So the first area I'd like to talk about is our transition to renewable energy. Now, this is going to require collaboration and focus from all of us across science and technology, across government and civil society, academics, and private companies. And this is a monumental challenge that we are facing as a world community. Now, measuring renewable energy is essential so that we can manage and guide ourselves towards this new energy future. But it's incredibly hard to manage something that you can't measure. So how can AI help us? How can AI help us measure our progress towards this new future? Now again, our partners at Planet Labs, they have been taking a picture of the Earth every day since 2018. And we can apply AI models to look at these pictures across the entire world and to identify solar farms and wind farms at scale. But what's most important is we can track the growth of these energy sources over time. And then delivering this data to our research scientist partners at the Nature Conservancy, they take this data and they determine the total energy capacity of these installed installations. Now, we call this data asset Global Renewables Watch, and I invite all of you to go explore the data at globalrenewableswatch.org. And now if we just zoom into Chile, since 2018, our data shows steady growth here in solar and wind energy, which is great. 197% growth in solar energy, 106% growth in wind energy. And our data suggests that Chile leads South America in the amount of installed solar capacity per capita, which is great. So this is another example of how AI can help us with a better future. So now let's talk about protecting our environment. The Amazon is one of the Earth's most precious resources, and it requires management and monitoring for its protection. Now, the Amazon is huge. It spans 5.5 million square kilometers across 9 countries. This vast and complex ecosystem faces so many threats, from climate change to illegal activities. And because of this scale and complexity, monitoring is hard. But we must continue to develop new and creative solutions to enable us to rapidly identify changes in the environment so that national policies can be updated or sometimes created, so that communities can be informed, and so that real-world, on-the-ground solutions can take place. And so one example of where we're using AI in the Amazon is to measure and monitor deforestation. So again, by leveraging satellite imagery, AI models can take these images, scan them at scale, and identify areas that have been likely logged. And we can do this over time to understand where deforestation is accelerating. This data is critical for effective deforestation monitoring. And another example of using AI in the Amazon is to measure the biodiversity of species. With deforestation and climate change, animals are forced to leave their existing habitats and migrate, disrupting the balance of the ecosystem. But cameras can be installed to continually capture images and video in an area which the animals will pass by. And these images, they can be sent back to the cloud, where AI models can detect the animals, classify the animals, and keep track of what is happening in that area for change. Now, similar, we can do this with birds. Microphones can be installed to continuously capture audio. This audio can be sent back to the cloud where different AI models can detect and classify hundreds of different bird species. And additionally, the systems can be trained to identify non-bird sounds, such as a chainsaw, which may be indicating illegal activity. And over time, using AI to analyze both images and audios, this enables us to measure the changes and measure the impacts on the local ecosystem's biodiversity. So last, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about accessible healthcare. Now, retinopathy of prematurity, also known as ROP, it's one of the most significant and preventable causes of infant blindness across the world. Now, ROP is a disease that didn't exist a few decades ago. And we are now seeing a significant rise in ROP rates across the globe, particularly in the global south. Now, the reason for this is somewhat paradoxical, because it's a reflection of amazing developments in maternal and infant healthcare. And thanks to these improvements, many more premature babies are now surviving. And because these babies are surviving, there are more causes of infant blindness due to ROP. Now, this presents us with a new challenge. There are only 200,000 ophthalmologists in the world. We do not have enough ophthalmologists who can diagnose this disease. And only of those 200,000, about 10,000 of them are pediatric ophthalmologists. It's physically impossible for these pediatric ophthalmologists to diagnose the disease in all of the children, especially before it progresses to the point of infant blindness. Now, some hospitals have expensive equipment that collects images and helps diagnose ROP, but in many hospitals in the areas of need, they don't have this type of equipment. But the good news is that each of us have a camera in our pocket, and together, a smartphone camera and a lens like the one you see in the picture here, combined with mobile AI, this can be game-changing. Now, we're collaborating with partners in Mexico and Colombia and Argentina on this problem. And here's how it works. Now, using the smartphone and that small lens you saw, doctors, they'll film the eye of the children. Now, the tool will detect the back of the eye, and it will extract the image. And then it can use the AI model to estimate the probability of ROP. And from there, specialists can look at the images, look at the probabilities, and confirm a diagnosis and arrange for treatment with the patients who need it. Now, this can be life-changing. So, in closing, I hope these examples inspire us to do more. I believe that if we collaborate, if we're creative, if we work together and leverage all of our expertise, all of the expertise of the people that have been here this week, that we can use AI to find new and innovative ways to build a better future for us, to build a better future for our children, and to build a better future for our grandchildren. Thank you. Gracias.